What happens when syncing with the universe reveals the dark truth about you? In a small town, rumors twisted through the air like autumn leaves in a storm. Every person had heard whispers about the mysterious phenomenon called syncing with the universe. Some claimed it unlocked hidden truths about your very soul. Others talked of darkness creeping in, revealing gnashing teeth and shadowed corners. The stakes were high, and curiosity hung like a storm cloud, electrifying the air. You could practically feel the charge buzzing beneath your skin. The anticipation was a living thing. Then there was Mallory, a curious girl with a fiery spirit and a touch too much bravado. One night, driven by a mix of excitement and sheer dread, she decided to dive into the forbidden ritual. She gathered her friends under the flickering street lamp, its wan glow casting long, jittery shadows. The air thickened with expectation. They were there to reveal magic, or perhaps madness. Whatever it was, something dangerous loomed behind the veil. Mallory felt a chill race up her spine, the kind that grabs hold of you and doesn't let go. As they began to chant ancient words, a mist enveloped them, seeping through the cracks of reality. Then the earth shook, and an eerie vibration resonated in every bone. This wasn't just fun anymore. The forest around them seemed to hold its breath, suspended in disbelief. "Did you feel that?" one of her friends gasped, eyes wide. A distant howl pierced the silence, sending shivers through their bodies. The shadows stirred, darkness swallowing the dying light. Mallory's chest tightened, heart pounding like a drum. Then, as if the universe bent to their will, haunting visions flooded their minds, each one more grotesque than the last. A trapped spirit crying out, a horrifying visage of someone they trusted. Who would it be for Mallory? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the shadows writhed and the visions deepened, a surge of panic cut through the group. Mallory's fingers clenched tight as darkness whispered secrets only she could hear. It was undeniable they had unleashed something raw and powerful. She was tethered to a truth now, something about her that chilled her soul. But with knowledge came an eerie thrill. Did she dare look deeper, or would she be devoured by what she found? The choice lingered, heavy and suffocating, drawing her in but warning her out. What would the universe reveal next? The mist hung thick, a shroud of secrets swirling in and out of focus. Mallory's breath came in sharp gasps, the weight of the unknown pressing down on her like a lead blanket. Around her, her friends were losing their grip, fear etched into their faces. Eyes darted around, too unsettled to settle. "Did you see that?" Tim's voice cracked, a razor-sharp edge of panic breaking through the thick fog of otherworldly awareness. Mallory swallowed hard, her throat constricting as dread coiled in her stomach. "What do you mean?" She forced herself to look, but the realization came rushing back in a wave. Memory's secrets she buried deep flashed before her eyes like a disjointed film. Each moment a crystal-clear accusation, as if the very essence of the universe was pointing a finger at her. I saw my sister," Tim stammered, shaking. "She was crying and then she just disappeared." "Stop it!" shrieked April, her face pale, lips trembling. "We shouldn't have done this. We need to end it." A heartbeat of silence hung thick in the air, and then the shadows began to pulse around them. With every beat, they crawled ever closer, hungrily reaching out with unseen fingers. The mist wrapped around them, swallowing their resolve as a deeper fear took root. It was no longer just a game. This was a reckoning. Mallory reached for the others, the tether of their shared experience now a threadbare lifeline. The whispers grew louder, each syllable tore at her sanity. When she tried to shut them out, she felt their claws grating on her psyche, dragging her deeper into the abyss where her own fears festered. You're hiding something. The thought pierced her consciousness, sending electric shocks through her veins. It was a voice that felt achingly familiar. Memories of laughter turned to arguments, turned to regrets, pulling her under like quicksand. She couldn't shake it. Suddenly the truth felt like a silence that screamed. "What did you do, Mallory?" This time, it wasn't a whisper, it was a command. "Tell them." A shockwave pulsed through her, and she knew instantly that the vision was not just for her. It was an ultimatum to spill her darkest secret or watch everything she cared about crumble into dust. The irony didn't elude her. She had always called out the closeted fears of her friends, never thought it'd come back to haunt her. "No," she whispered, trembling. The shadows thickened, an all-consuming blanket cloaking everything. The forest vibrated with her heartbeat, urgency rising, the feeling of being hunted washing over her. "This is your last chance, Mallory." The voice thundered, the air crackled. Behind them, the trees twisted in unnatural shapes, faces morphing into twisted grimaces that seeped darkness. Despair clawed at her heart as she watched her friends pale, some collapsing, paralyzed in terror. Their eyes, once filled with excitement, now darted nervously around the clearing, searching for an escape. "Mallory, please don't," April whimpered, desperately clutching her arm, but it was too late. The abyss had opened wide, and now it craved feasts of truth. Just as Mallory opened her mouth, the ground trembled violently, a deafening roar erupting from below. All at once, a chilling voice broke through from the very darkness they had awakened. "Who dares disturb my slumber?" The world stopped. Breath left her lungs as she faced the horror she had invited. Was this the cost of seeking the truth, or had they merely scratched the surface? And as Mallory looked into the depths of the void, all she could think was, what had she truly unleashed? The air around them thickened, charged with fear and desperation. Mallory's wide eyes absorbed the shadows swirling closer. They were not just figments of imagination but sentient beings, drawn to the pulse of her secret, like moths to a flame. The forest groaned with ancient dread, brushing against Mallory as the very ground beneath her feet rippled with energy. "Run!" Tim cried, urgency cracking through his panic. But where? The shadows loomed, each one taking form and substance, coiling around them like fog wrapping a lost memory. In that instant, something within Mallory snapped, a surge of instinct clawing its way to the surface. We can't break apart." The words came out unsteady, but her resolve began to crystallize. They were in this together. Whatever had been unleashed, it could consume them all, or it could bring them back together if they faced it. "Mallory, now is not the time for bravery." April screeched, her grip tightening on Mallory's arm. "We need to go. This place is cursed." "No." Mallory shouted, finding her voice amidst the chaos. "We need to confront it. Together. Or it will tear us apart." Silence fell. The shadows paused, a heartbeat that stretched out painfully, as if the forest was breathing in unison with her. The ground trembled again, but this was different. This time it pulsed with an undercurrent of promise, of clarity, beneath the chaos. A choice was laid before them. "What do you mean?" Tim swallowed hard, daring to hope against the darkness beginning to swirl around his legs. "Every secret holds power." "I know what I have to do," Mallory said, her pulse quickening with each word. She squeezed her friend's hands tightly, trying to anchor them through the storm. "We reveal our truths to each other. That's the only way to break the hold this thing has on us." The ghosts of their hidden fears flared as they frantically exchanged glances. The whispers of the forest turned into a low hiss, muffling their thoughts, urging them to turn away. But Mallory somehow felt emboldened. April's eyes were glassy, shimmering with unshed tears. I can't tell you. It's too much. But it isn't just you, April." Mallory urged, the cracks in her friend's resolve widening around them. "You have to trust us. It's the only way." And in that moment, a heartbeat resonated deeper than fear. Vulnerability was the true enemy, and the connection they formed would be their shield. Tim took a shaky breath. Okay, if we do this, I'll go first. The shadows swirled more violently, snapping their fingers around him. You dare. The voice echoed, resonant with fury. Stop. Mallory shouted, squeezing Tim's hand. Show yourself. We're not afraid. With the echo of her defiance, the mist thickened and parted, unveiling a shadowy form rising from the earth. It was twisted but vaguely human, whispers coiling around its limbs like serpents. It stared at them with hollow eyes, oozing malevolence. Your reckoning has come. You cannot escape who you are, it growled, each word clawing at their sanity. No. Mallory screamed, taking a step forward, a sudden pulse of energy coursing through her. You don't understand. We'll show you who we are. We'll face ourselves. Do you dare challenge the darkness? The shadow hissed, as the temperature dropped, frost creeping across the ground, and just like that, the tension hung thick, heartbeats echoing like thunder. April's breath hitched in her throat, and Tim faltered, the shadows moving to envelop him. Mallory's heart raced. Was defiance enough? Bravery is only the beginning, she whispered, gripping her friends tightly as the shadow loomed closer, an allure of secrets whispered in the air. What price would they pay for the truth they sought? The answer swirled in the darkness, waiting as the ground trembled underfoot. As she looked into the abyss, Mallory asked herself, were they strong enough to face the demons inside themselves? Mallory felt the temperature drop around her as the shadows tightened their grip, squeezing her chest like a vice. The hair on her arms stood on end, every instinct screaming for her to run. Yet the thought of abandoning Tim and April ignited a fire within her. You don't frighten us. She steadied her voice, though it quaked at the edges. Her gaze swept to her friends, searching for their resolve. Just say what you have to say, then. The shadow taunted, its voice slithering through the air, thick with mockery. Show me what hides within your hearts. You think you know fear? Wait until you feel the weight of your own secrets. Tim's face blanched under the eerie glow of the shadow's presence. I can't do this, he mumbled, his eyes darting to the ground, lost in the suffocating atmosphere. The shadows twisted around him, shadows that had once been just whispers of his anxiety now clawing for a piece of his essence. Mallory gripped his hand tighter, grounding herself in the moment. No, Tim. You are stronger than this. We've got to trust each other. April pulled back suddenly, her eyes wide in disbelief. You really think this will work? What if this only makes things worse? Her voice trembled, fear cracking through the bravado she grasped desperately. We'll never know unless we try. Mallory cried out, a surge of urgency pushing her forward. What's the worst that could happen? We let him win. We hide forever. The shadows hissed in response, the sound a multitude of voices, each one a reminder of their deepest fears. It will cost you, the shadow whispered, its hollow eyes boring into them, searching for cracks in their resolve. This isn't a game. You will be stripped bare, exposed, vulnerable. Can you handle the truth? Mallory's heart pounded in her chest. Every instinct told her to recoil, to turn and flee, but the fire within her burned brighter than the shadow's chilling presence. Listen. If we're going to do this, we do it together. No secrets, no lies. Tim's breath hitched, wrestling with the suffocating weight of his secret. But what if it's too much? What if we can't come back from this? Mallory looked deep into her friend's eyes, a conviction rising within her. You matter to me. Your truths matter. And I'll stand by you. She turned to April. All of us. Together. Always. A crack of lightning illuminated the shadow, casting it in a violent flash of clarity. The light revealed something unexpected. Fear pulsing through its form was not just menace but a reflection of their own dread. Mallory suddenly understood that the shadow was a distillation of their secrets, a creation born from everything they wished to hide. As Tim inhaled sharply, Mallory took a step forward. I'll go first. I'll break the ice. She felt the ground tremble beneath her feet again, trembling with anticipation. My truth. I'm terrified. I hate that I can't control everything. I'm scared of being a failure. The shadow recoiled slightly, its face contorting in something resembling surprise. The whispers quieted, listening. April, biting her lip, cautiously met Mallory's gaze. Okay, I'll do it too. I'm scared of being alone. I feel like I don't belong anywhere. Mallory's heart raced at April's admission, but it fueled something fierce inside her. She exchanged a glance with Tim, urging him silently to join in. Tim seemed to wrestle with himself, breathing heavily, until finally, he exhaled a choking sound. I'm afraid of being weak. I try to be the strong one, but it's killing me. The shadow's form shifted, colliding with their confessions as if gathering energy from their fears. It shuddered, barely maintaining its menacing facade. Do you think your honesty will change anything? It hissed, anxiety slipping into its voice. Yes. Mallory shouted, her voice strong against the howling whispers. Our truth is stronger than your lies. A shocking stillness enveloped them, vibrating with a tension that felt almost electric. The ground beneath them pulsed again, this time welcoming, a promise of change ripening in the air, yet fear clawed back at Mallory, a whisper in her ear. Had they truly changed anything? Suddenly, more shadows rushed in uninvited, howling closer, and it became clear, the reckoning was far from over. An urge to flee surged, but their feet remained rooted to the spot, trapped in a web of their own making. As the onslaught intensified, Mallory felt a rush of adrenaline. With the shadows swirling, one thought burned bright: the most dangerous secret might yet be hidden within herself. What would happen if she dared to face it? What truth could shatter the dark? A deafening roar erupted as the shadows converged, swirling like a relentless storm. In that suffocating chaos, Mallory fought to keep her footing. Her heart echoed in her ears, a frantic drum, as she held on to Tim's trembling hand and gazed into April's wide, terrified eyes. The shadows shouted their secrets back at them, a cacophony of fears, regrets, and failures that hung thick in the air. What do we do? Tim's voice cracked through the noise, panic flooding his expression. Trust yourselves. Mallory shouted back, though her own confidence wavered. Each word felt like a desperate lifeline, thrown into a churning sea of despair. Amid the swirling darkness, she caught snippets of their past, haunting moments playing in her mind like haunting memories coming back to life. Tim's struggles on the field, April's lonely nights, her own anxious breaths as she faced the future. Each image struck deeply. The shadows fed on these vulnerabilities, growing stronger with every confession. With a surge of determination, Mallory shouted louder, her voice slicing through the darkness. Fear is a liar. It tells us we're not enough. The shadows recoiled, howls of anguish echoing around them. They thrashed against Mallory's words, creating a tempest of despair. But she pressed on, pulling her friends closer together. We've faced our fears already. Admit it. We've felt alone, weak, but what we feel doesn't define us. Another flash of lightning illuminated the scene, and the shadow's smile twisted wickedly, seemingly entertained by their defiance. You think strength lies in your words? It lies in how deep you will dig. How far will you go to unearth the truth? Face your darkest thoughts. Mallory felt the chill cut through her, a pang of helplessness creeping back in. What was her darkest secret? What had she hidden even from herself? The specter of doubt flickered in her mind. Hadn't she always felt like she had to hold everything together? What if that facade shattered? April took a shaky breath. We can't let it win. Then we show it we're not afraid. Mallory cried, frustrated tears stinging her eyes. I won't hide anymore, not from you, not from it. Suddenly, the ground quaked beneath them again. The shadows howled in a terrifying symphony, an ominous crescendo filling the air as the fabric around them began to shimmer. The light seemed to respond to their bravery as beams of radiance pierced through the dark mass, illuminating their faces with a glow that felt almost ethereal. Together, Tim shouted, his face aflame with newfound courage. They joined hands tightly, a united front against the impending storm. "I'm scared of losing everything," Mallory whispered, finally allowing herself to voice the shadow that had lurked within her, a truth she kept buried. "What if I can't handle it? What if I lose you both?" The ground shuddered again, and this time the shadows shuddered too, drawing back, trembling with uncertainty as their raw truth bled into the openness of their acceptance. The whispers became confused, fracturing and dissolving in the air like smoke. "Face it. Face it all." April shrieked as they stood together, but even as the swirling shadows began to dissipate, pushing back against the encroaching honesty, something deeper stirred at the edges of Mallory's consciousness, a truth that was scarier than all the others combined. The shadows launched one final, powerful strike, screaming their wrath as the very ground trembled beneath them. Mallory's heart raced, they were teetering on the edge of revelation and deeper darkness. What lay ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear: this was only the beginning, and the fight was far from over. "Are you ready to awaken the truth within?" came the shadow's voice, now a soft, chilling whisper, a final invitation amidst the chaos. Mallory had only one thought as the shadows swept closer again, ready to challenge them anew: could honesty truly set them free, or would it expose them to their greatest fears yet? The shadows stirred ominously, swelling with an energy that seemed to pulse with every stutter of Mallory's heartbeat. An electric tension hung thick in the air, crackling, threatening to burst. Tim and April tightened their grip, their palms slick with sweat. "What do we do?" Tim's voice quivered, barely louder than a whisper, drowning beneath the haunting echoes surrounding them. "I don't know," Mallory shouted, but deep down, the answer lingered, a whisper in the chaos. "Face the truth. Own it." The shadow's voice, now sinister and slithering like smoke, seeped into the edges of her resolve. Memories flashed like a series of broken snapshots, missed opportunities, lost friendships, that one time she let someone down. The weight of her past pressed down on her chest like a heavy stone. "What if it's too much?" she breathed, almost to herself. "It won't be." April snapped, her voice a fierce ember amid the encroaching darkness. "We're not alone. We can do this together." As the shadows howled their rage, a flash of light erupted from their joined hands, pushing back the swirling mass, and the air hummed with defiance. But uncertainty gnawed at the edges of Mallory's heart, a chilling reminder of moments she had tucked away, her failings, her flaws. "Show us, then," she yelled, summoning every ounce of strength. "If you want our truth, then show us what you have." In that charged moment, the shadows flickered, quaking as though Mallory's courage held some weight against them. The darkness parted briefly, revealing a path shrouded in obscurity. But on that path, glimmers of light danced like fireflies, calling out tantalizingly. Then Mallory saw it, a flash of her past. The image was crystal clear, her as a little girl, staring forlornly at a moving truck, watching her childhood home disappear. The pain, raw and palpable, surged forward, a tsunami of memory. "I was so alone," she gasped, realization dawning. "I never allowed myself to feel it." "What are you waiting for?" the shadow hissed, its voice weaving through the air like a haunting melody. "Show us your truth." April stepped forward, her expression fierce. "No. We don't have to surrender to the darkness." Tim joined her, positioning himself protectively beside Mallory. "We can choose what to hold on to. We decide what defines us." In their unified stance, the shadows trembled once more, pulsating as if they were alive. It was a battle, light against dark, hope against despair. Mallory felt another truth unfurling within her, expanding like a growing flame. "We're stronger when we're honest," she shouted into the void. The shadows screamed in anger, the sound reverberating through her very bones, but Mallory continued. "I am scared, yes. But I will not be controlled by fear anymore." That proclamation acted like a match strike, igniting the air around them. Color erupted in dizzying hues, blinding light consuming the overwhelming darkness. It was beautiful and terrifying, a whirlwind of kaleidoscopic brilliance intertwined with looming dread. But just as hope flickered anew, a loud crack echoed like thunder, splitting the chaos apart. An ominous sense of devastation arose from the void where the shadows had been. "Do you really think the truth will set you free?" The shadow hissed, its voice now full of scorn as it began to shift, forming a face from the darkness. "What if the truth is something you'll regret?" Mallory felt her heart drop. A question loomed, troubling and undeniable. Fear crept through her veins as she whispered, "What could be worse than what I've already faced?" But as the question hung in the air, the shadow's grin widened, dark and sinister, revealing a deeper fear lurking beyond the light they had summoned. What truth waited to be unearthed, and could they really handle it? The space around them quaked, a violent shudder pulling at the very fabric of their reality. Tim felt it first, a chilling breeze wrapping around his ankles, curling upward like icy fingers. A bolt of fear shot through him, and he glanced at April. Her face was a mask of determination, but her wide eyes told a different story, a story laced with trepidation. "Mallory, focus!" she shouted, suddenly louder than the panicked whispers of the entity. "Don't lose it now." The shadow grinned wider, and with each inch that it twisted into a more human form, the air grew heavier, thick with desperation. Mallory felt her pulse quicken. "What do you want from us?" she demanded, gripping April's hand tighter. "Do you truly wish to know your past?" The shadow cooed, its voice almost seductive, curling around her like a warm embrace, betraying its true nature. "The truth, dear Mallory, is far darker than you dare to imagine." Suddenly, the shadows exploded, enveloping them in a whirlpool of darkness. Thoughts raced through her mind, a million what-ifs. Each one more terrifying than the last. What if her choices had spiraled out of control, leading to places she never intended to go? What if forgiveness was unattainable? The thought sent anguish ricocheting through her, making her chest tighten. "No!" April's shout broke her from the grip of despair. "We want to let you drown us in regret." With every ounce of courage, Mallory squeezed April's hand. "Own it, Mallory. Just like you said." Tim encouraged, his voice shaky but resolute. The three of them stood united, forming a triangle of light amid suffocating darkness. Mustering her strength, Mallory shouted, "I've been lost, and I admit it. I've felt pain. I've made mistakes. But that is part of me. I'm done hiding." For a moment, silence fell like a blanket. The shadow flickered, revealing glimpses of its true visage, a swirling mass that flickered between forms, nothing and everything at once, a collage of fears. Then it erupted in a haunting wail, reverberating through the air, crashing into Mallory with physical weight. "I will show you what you hide," it screeched. "What crumbles when you face the real you?" Images flared up, unbidden. Loss, pain, betrayal. Friends turned enemies. Laughter turned to silence. All her buried sorrows tumbled out, overwhelming her senses. "No, stop!" she cried, but it was too late. The truth she had tried so hard to bury clawed to the surface. Each lifeless memory dripped with regret. It was like watching a movie where she was the villain, the monster lurking behind every frame, guilty of her own neglect. "You are weak," the shadow hissed, crescendoing with glee. But suddenly, Mallory felt something shift. It was the warmth of hope trickling back in. "No, I'm not," she roared, her voice ringing with newfound power. "I am not defined by my mistakes. I am fighting back." Light erupted around her again, dazzling colors swirling in a protective cocoon. Tim and April joined her, their combined forces igniting a radiant shield against the shadows. The darkness screamed, flailing wildly as the light consumed it. Together, they shouted in unison, and it was as if their voices conjured the very essence of their resilience. The battle surged, each pulse of light pushing the darkness further away. But as they pressed forward, a single thought lurked maliciously in her mind: what if they were merely scratching the surface? The shadows dissipated, but another chill filled the space where they fought. A deeper truth lay in wait, twisted and hungry, whispering sinister secrets yet to be exhumed. Mallory's breath hitched. What are we still hiding from? And with the lingering question hanging in the air, the shadows lurked just beyond the edge of the light, waiting for their moment to strike again. The air crackled, sharp with tension, as Mallory's question echoed back to them. No answers, just silence enveloping the three of them like a heavy fog. It felt surreal, standing on the edge of something monumental and terrifying. Beneath that thick quiet, a low rumble began to build, thrumming in her chest like a warning. "Mallory, we need to go, now," April urged, her voice tinged with panic, but the shadows were creeping closer, whispering fragments of fears that clawed at the edges of their minds. They thrummed with a haunting melody, a siren song that yanked at their resolve. Tim swung his flashlight, illuminating fleeting images of things long buried. The faces of friends, the shadows of lost opportunities, the laughter that had once filled their lives now faded into the background. "Don't listen to them," Tim yelled, swinging the light toward the dark figures. Each beam of illumination sent them shuddering back, but it wouldn't last. The realization hit Mallory hard. Just as they fed on her regrets, the shadows drew strength from their fear. "We need to confront it," Mallory shouted, her voice breaking through the thick tension. "This can't end in running. We face it or we become part of it." April nodded, her determination forming a shield around them. "Together we have to face it together." Barely holding on to that thread of courage, they moved toward the oppressive darkness. As they advanced, the whispers turned into guttural screams, resonating painfully, relentless, dragging up the shadows of their past like phantoms clawing at their heels. "Look!" Mallory cried, pointing toward a swirling vortex at the center of the shadows. Memories flickered within, distorted images of moments where each of them had faltered, betrayals they caused, the pain they endured. The vortex twisted, mocking them, but there was something else. A flicker of light deep within it, flickering like a candle fighting against the storm. "That light, it's hope," Tim shouted. "We can reach it." But as she stepped closer, the shadows lashed out, forming a wave that pushed back like a tsunami of fear. Mallory stumbled, struggling to regain her footing as the weight of their mistakes bore down upon her. "Hold on," April shouted. But the pull of the darkness was real, it threatened to drag them into that abyss. "No." Mallory's voice pierced the air with fierce conviction. "We won't be shackled by this." Channeling every ounce of adrenaline she had, Mallory pushed forward, holding tightly to the light of hope. Her friends flanked her, Tim on her right, April on her left. Together, they charged against the tempest of anguish that threatened to engulf them. As they merged with the light, the darkness hissed, swirling chaotically. "You cannot escape yourself," it bellowed, filling their ears with echoing cries of despair, but Mallory's heart raced with fire, fierce and alive. "This is our truth," she claimed, her voice cutting through the screams like a knife. "And we are more than these shadows. We choose to rise." The light within them flared even brighter, bursting forth in a wave that rippled outward, not just a defense but an offensive strike against the suffocating darkness. Encased in their combined strength, they pressed on, knowing they could shatter the chains that bound them, but just as they pushed through, the vortex trembled violently, sending a shockwave that staggered them backward. The flickering hope flickered slower, and in that moment of chaos, darkness surged around them. "What now?" Tim yelled, his eyes wide with fear. "We find the core of it," Mallory shouted back, a fierce glint in her eyes. "We dig deeper." The path ahead twisted grotesquely, and where the shadows churned angrily, she spotted a glimmer, a door flung open, inviting and terrifying. But what lay beyond it? With a shudder, they moved forward, hearts pounding against the overwhelming uncertainty. What awaited on the other side? And with breaths bated, they prepared to confront whatever truth lay hidden, because deep down, they knew the real battle was just beginning. As they stepped through the doorway, a blinding light engulfed them. It surged with an intensity that was both warm and unnerving, wrapping around them like an embrace but too tight, like a hand choking the very breath from their lungs. Mallory blinked furiously, trying to adjust to the brightness, but as her vision cleared, a new scene unfolded before them. They were no longer in the swirling shadows. Instead, they found themselves in a vast expanse, an otherworldly realm filled with reflective surfaces and shifting forms. The ground beneath them glimmered like shattered glass, and the air hummed with an electric energy that vibrated down to their bones. "What is this place?" Tim whispered, his wide eyes darting around, drinking in the sights. It was hauntingly beautiful, yet somehow wrong. "It feels surreal," April breathed, stepping forward cautiously. Then, the ground beneath them rippled, and faces began to emerge in the reflections all around. Some were familiar, a swirl of loved ones, lost friendships, and memories that scraped against their hearts. Others were unrecognizable, distorted shadows of people they had never met, but whose grief and anger resonated deep within them. Mallory staggered backward as the weight of the emotions poured in. It felt as if the raw essence of their past was materializing, each specter bearing witness to their every failure. "We need to stay focused," she cautioned, forcing the words through her throat, tight with fear. "We're here to confront, not relive." The shadows warped around them, morphing into giant walls that loomed higher and higher, pressing down as if trying to swallow them whole. "I'm not ready for this," April exclaimed, her voice trembling as she reached for Tim. But as their hands clasped, a surge of energy pulsed through them, renewing their determination. "Think of the light," Tim urged. "Whatever this is, it can't break us." With that, a sudden roar echoed through the realm, drowning out their cries of defiance. The air thickened, drawing the darkness toward them, threatening to adorn the faceless terror they had been so desperate to escape. Wisps of smoke curled around them, and the voices dripped with venom. "You think you can escape us?" they hissed, a chorus of broken dreams and shattered hopes. "These memories are you." "No," Mallory shouted, her voice rising above the tide. "We are the choices we make from this moment forward. Not just the mistakes of our past." At that moment, a crack formed in the mirrored surface around them, a fracture of realness breaking free from the unreal. And as they looked closer, Mallory saw something glimmering inside the heart of their truth. "Push toward it," she cried, adrenaline igniting every fiber of her being. The three of them gripped each other tightly and sprinted forward, breaking through the cascading shadows, their feet pounding on the jagged ground with purpose, but each step brought trepidation. The shadows reared and lashed out, pulling at their limbs with icy fingers, whispering lies that clawed into their minds. "You can't," they warned, but determination burned fiercely within Mallory. They were so close now. The glimmer of truth was vibrant, more alive than anything they had encountered. She could practically feel the warmth of it against her skin, urging them onward. Just as their fingers grazed that crucial sliver of light, an overwhelming force slammed into them like a freight train. The shadows screamed in disbelief, their forms writhing and twisting as if they would dissolve like mist. "Keep fighting," April shouted, her face set in fierce determination. But just as they stretched toward the truth, doubt intruded, splintering like cracks across the glassy ground, threatening to pull them back into the darkness they so desperately battled against. "Will we rise above? Or will we be dragged down?" Mallory's heart raced, each beat resonating the truth she wasn't ready to face. A shadowy hand reached out, icy and insistent, gripping her ankle. As cold dread coursed through her, she screamed, "We fight for the light, together." But beyond their struggle, something darker loomed, a presence that threatened to unravel the very fabric of their reality. The narrow edge between victory and despair blurred, leaving only questions swirling in the chaos. Would they grasp the truth, or be consumed by the darkness once and for all? The shadows roared, furious at their defiance. Mallory felt a rush of adrenaline as she wrestled against the darkness clinging to her. Determination surged through her, fueled by the warmth of her friends beside her. "We won't be broken. Not now." she shouted, pushing through the swirling mists that clung to her like wet blankets. Tim and April echoed her defiance, their voices rising against the tide. The ground trembled and flickered, the reflections around them shattering like glass, revealing the truth buried beneath. Memories, some tender, some haunting, broke forth, forcing them to confront the lack of agency they had felt in their own lives. "These aren't our chains," April shouted, stepping boldly, her eyes blazing as if she could set fire to the darkness itself. "They don't own us." Mallory's heart raced at the empowerment swirling among them. With every step they took toward the glowing heart of their truth, the shadows recoiled like animals exposed to light. "We control our story," she declared, gripping Tim and April's hands tighter, anchoring them in solidarity. But just as their fingers brushed the beacon of illumination, the shadows coiled around them in one last desperate strike. "You think this will change your fates?" The voice of the shadow hissed, venom dripping from each word. "You are forever defined by your fears." The shadows lunged forward, a monstrous tide determined to drag them back into despair. "No!" Mallory shouted, their chant surging powerfully. "We define ourselves. Now and forever." In that charged moment of unity, they surged forward, breaking through the last vestiges of darkness. The shadows shattered like glass around them, dissipating into nothing. As the light engulfed them, Mallory felt a profound sense of release wash over her. A palpable energy filled the air, lifting the weight of her past regrets, bathing her in warmth. She looked at her friends, their faces alight with hope. Tim's mouth curved upwards, a smile breaking through the strain he had carried. April's eyes sparkled, reflecting the clarity of their truth for the first time. In that luminous realm, they stepped forward together, leaving the shadows behind. "We did it," Tim whispered, awe creeping into his words as the air shimmered around them. "We faced it." April nodded, breathless. "The power of our truth was stronger than the darkness." Mallory took a deep breath, feeling the lingering echoes of fear slip away like sand through her fingers. This was just the beginning. "We have to keep embracing our truths." She exchanged glances with them, a connection that went deeper than words, a bond forged in honesty and courage. No more hiding. Together, they turned to the glowing door that had opened behind them, the path before them shimmering with possibilities. An exhilarating sense of freedom filled Mallory's chest. "Let us make our story one worth telling." As they stepped through, the blinding light faded, and they stood on the edge of their small town transformed. The air buzzed with energy, the swirl of possibility danced around them. Every leaf rustling in the wind felt renewed, the rumors of syncing with the universe would continue to whisper like autumn leaves in the wind, but now they stood equipped with knowledge. The shadows were still there, out there in the world, but so was their light, a beacon guiding their way. They felt the encroachment of night, the soft glow of street lamps illuminating their path, casting comforting shadows behind them. Hand in hand, they walked on, not as haunted souls but as warriors of their truth, and the bond of friendship suffused with newfound strength filled their hearts. With their heads high, they sensed the energy of the universe pulse around them, bidding them to go forth, to explore not just the worlds outside but the depths within. Together, they would write their own narrative, painting their lives with vivid strokes of hope and resilience. And as they stepped into the future, Mallory realized something vital: the true magic of syncing with the universe didn't reveal horrors, but unveiled strength. The strength to embrace who they were and the courage to shape who they would become. This was their vow, their promise, and they were ready to meet whatever came next. Remember, we need your support to keep bringing you these powerful stories. So, don't wait another second. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you won't miss the next exclusive tales. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and keep the magic alive. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories about today's ending. What did you think of Mallory's journey? And lastly, don't delay. Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this breathtaking conclusion. You need to show your support, true fans. Each action makes a difference.